Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance and Penrite Oil. Hello and welcome to another interesting episode of Classic Restos. Major sponsors, I know that you know who they are. When it comes time for the best in classic vehicle, home and contents insurance, along with an opportunity to sign up to become a member of the Shannons Club, and where the Penrite Technical Assistance Team is there to help us 7 days a week, go to classicrestos.com.au for more major sponsor contact information. And on today's show, if you're into bikes or can appreciate the marvels of just one man, you'll love this. Welcome to the Best of Burt Munro, where movie was created, The World's Fastest Indian. You can live more in 5 minutes on a motorcycle in some of these events I've been in than some people do in a lifetime. That was a quote by the great man Burt Munro. Born in 1899, growing up on a farm, but was 20 before he purchased his first Clino motorcycle for the hefty tag of £50 and starts racing. Shortly after, in 1920, Burt buys an Indian Scout for £140, which happened to be the 627th model built of this type. In 1924, Burt receives his first speeding ticket for exceeding 15 miles per hour. All this did was inspire him to go faster, and by 1937, Burt Munro was running speeds of up to 110 miles per hour. At a time where Europe and the West as we know it was about to undergo serious change, but for Burt in 1939, he attempted to break the New Zealand land speed record. And in 1940, Burt sets the New Zealand Open class record at just over 120 miles per hour, winning the Bluff Hill climb. In 1951, Burt buys land at 105 Bainfield Road, North Invercargill. He builds a garage, installs a potbelly stove, and moved in. This is the shed where Burt was to live and work for the next 22 years. 1951 was also the year where Burt recorded a speed of just over 133 miles an hour at Timaru, and by 1953 was made a life member of Southland Motorcycle Club. 1955 saw Burt off to the Isle of Man for the first time, an event on a bike that was never intended for the faint-hearted. This was a cup full of petrol onto Burt's already smouldering fire, because in 1956, for the very first time, Burt visits the Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, United States of America. This inspired Burt to return to New Zealand and build a streamliner for his Indian Scout. A whole array of staggering events and human feats took place using minimal budgets and incredibly old mechanical design platforms. In his backyard shed, Burt Munro modified and developed his 1920s Indian Scout that originally boasted a top speed of around 54 miles per hour and took it to an incredible just over 200 miles per hour, setting a land speed record in the under 1000cc class in 1967. And by 2009, the record still stands. The Burt Munro Challenge is a tribute to this master on two wheels, and every year hundreds of biking enthusiasts gather to one of the prettiest places on earth, Burt's hometown, Invercargill in the deep south of New Zealand. It's Friday, day one of the 3-day Burt Munro Challenge, and it's the Bluff Hill climb where entrants can experience firsthand what it's like to climb the mountain at full throttle. The only difference was that when Burt did it, he had a dirt road, not a cosy bitumen one. this is as close as you're going to get to the real deal with Burt, his son John. Now, John, just quickly tell us maybe one memorable story you can remember about Burt, and tell us maybe what he was like as an individual back in his day.
Ooh, well, he was a great dad. Looked after us well. Discipline always came from Mum. She was the disciplinarian, and I think Dad was too busy fixing the bike up, to worry too much about that. But no, we had, my childhood was in the tail end of the Great Depression, so there wasn't much money around, but we were always well dressed and looked after, and we all ate well, so he performed well as a father. And
was he a kind-hearted kind of guy?
Oh yes, we never wanted for anything. We were looked after well, and also in the motorcycle fraternity he was well respected because he was always willing to pass on a bit of knowledge, give a bit of help.
John, this whole event must be incredibly emotional for you.
Oh yes, it is. When you see thousands of people turning up to honour my dad, it does give you a wee bit of a lump in the throat. Yeah.
The movie does it for me. Anthony Hopkins, World's Fastest Indian. It's just my favourite. I just watch it over and over again. And there's something about that movie. There's things that you see every time that you watch it. It is just so symbolic to the great man.
A lot of people say to me, why was the film called World's Fastest Indian? Now, in 1962, Dad got a trophy. He actually got this particular trophy every year. But on the trophy it says, Father has travelled, because Dad went from New Zealand to the Salt every year. Father has travelled, Burt Munro, owner of the world's fastest Indian. And that's where the name of the film came from, off that trophy.
Good on you, John. Thanks, mate.
Okay, thank you.
Take care of yourself.
You too.
Bye, mate.
Take care.
The 2013 Burt Munro Challenge, brought to you with the cooperation of Venture Southland and, of course, my major sponsors. When it comes time for the finest in classic vehicle, home and contents insurance and the finest in oils and coolants, go to classicrestos.com.au. Back with more Burt after this. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, this is the best of from the Burt Munro Challenge. 3 intense days of activities at your own pace on motorcycles from all eras. 3 days of camaraderie and catching up of mates. It's a 3-day mystery bag of competing against the unforeseen Invercargill weather of southern New Zealand that can give you 5 climate changes in 5 hours. But most of all, 3 days as tribute to the great man that left us in 1978, Burt Munro. Invercargill Friday night is the first action-packed event of this 3-day biking mecca. It's Oreti Beach for the entrance beach racing, and the same place where Burt used to run and test his bikes. Okay, we've got Ritchie now. Now, Neil is our grounds commentator for the Burt Munro Challenge for this weekend, or for the 4 days. How are you, Neil?
Excellent, thank you, Fletch. Lovely.
That's good, mate. You're a mountain of experience. What can we expect to see here on the beach this afternoon?
Well, first of all, the wind's got up, and we had a beautiful afternoon about an hour ago, and that's all it took was a turning point. So the wind, and it's coming literally down on the seaward side, so it's coming down with them as well. So super fast down the straight. There's a hint of a crosswind as well, so it'll push him out towards the waterline. But the stronger this wind gets up, the harder it is to turn and come towards where's our back at the moment, Fletch. So this is going to be tough, and watch these winds because they're scheduled to get up to potentially 100 kilometres an hour within about an hour's time on the latest forecast we heard. That's why the event's running ahead of schedule. That's why we've got no time to be mucking around here. We've got to get on with it because the big one is saved for the end of the day, Fletch. The 50 miler. That's 50 times. That is 100 corners. to do for these guys out here. And of course the extended tanks that many of them will take if they don't want to do the refuel during the race, so it's going to be tough, and this wind does not help them at all.
Now, what sort of speeds can we expect to see?
Oh, certainly they'll be easily on that downward run as well, because that's the best sand as well. So they've got the tailwind. They'll be doing 180s today easily, because they're going to have the tailwind and the harder sand. Now, if you notice here at Oreti, why Burt Munro loved it so much is he could come here and play with the tide and get that best, because effectively the bit of sand that's best to race on is probably only ever out of water about 80% of the, 20% of the time, 80% of the time it's covered with water. So that's why it's hardest and it's best. So that's the bit we want. So when you're watching them going down with the wind at their back, and against a lot of them will be hugging water, you'll see spray come up for them, because they want that hardest bit of sand, and hopefully that little Tara won't put its head up to have a bit of a look and see them coming. It will duck into its shell and say, hell, what's coming here?
Good on you, Neil. There's no other place like it quite on the earth, I tell you that much. We can certainly see why it's called the Burt Munro Challenge. Thanks, Neil.
Thank you indeed, Fletch. Good work.
Time for this guy now. How are you, Reese?
I'm good, Fletch. Thank you very much.
That's right, mate. You got two bikes I haven't seen before. 1930 Rudge Dirt Tracker.
Yes,
Give us a quick rundown.
I got this about 18 months ago. I just got the bare frame, and we built it up for the last Burt Munro, and we had it going for about 2 weeks out before the Burt Munro, and we run it and run it all season, which is amazing. It still kept going, but it kept going. And it's back this year. We've done a few modifications to it. And
what size engine is it, Reese?
500cc.
Tell us about the bike next to it.
This here, Fletch, was my very first Rudge. I bought this home on the back of a Nissan Kid Cab Ute and 10 boxes.
You look up Rudge in the dictionary, you see a picture of this bloke. I tell you what, he'd make Burt Munro proud. Good on you, Reese.
Thank you very much, Fletch.
The weather's closing in. We're making the most of it. How are you, Malcolm?
Very good, thanks, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. 1975 Triumph, a Bonneville TT Special. Glorious old bike. How is it?
It goes well.
Does it?
Yeah.
The time you've had, have you had to do anything to it? Has it been a resto?
Oh, yeah, it has, but it's just maintenance. It's an old bike.
Yeah.
Things break.
Yeah. You have a lot of fun with it out on the beach.
Oh, definitely, yes. Yeah.
What sort of speed do you get up to on it, Malcolm?
Well, it's got standard gearing on it, so it does probably 110 mile an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
110 mile an hour.
Yeah.
It's not bad going, is it?
No, they do go well. It's a standard 750 pushrod Triumph Twin. 5-speed gearbox. Really a very basic standard road-going engine.
Tell me, Malcolm, when you're out racing on the beach, does it give you some type of appreciation of what it must have been like for the Burt back in his day?
Oh, yes, it does. Very much so.
The Burt Munro Challenge is just so unique, and isn't it so nice, Malcolm, that so many years on, that in tribute to Burt Munro, that an event like this happens?
Oh, I'll tell you what, it's great. This is our 7th year down here. We just keep coming back, and it's better every year.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Good on you, Malcolm. Thanks for being on today's show, mate.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
How much variety awaits you at the Burt Munro Challenge? Rain, hail or shine, the event goes on, and I can always keep you up to date with the native fauna and flora.
Just south of Waidikikimukau and north of Hoodkikatinalong is the great southern thistle of Kalikalihuyu Kokimikitora, and that's not to be mistaken for the Diddy Diddy Why Did He Do It. When we talk action, this is what it's all about. There's 8 classes racing here today around this awesome 2.57 kilometre track of action. Another reason as to why they call it the Burt Munro Challenge. All right, first cab off the rank here at Terratonga, we have Peter. How are you, Peter?
Good, thank you, Fletch. Good,
That's
mate.
right, mate. You're dressed for it. You look like Morse on the Explorer.
Yeah, it's a bit chilly today, isn't it?
The bike, 62 Norton. How long have you had it, Peter?
This is my 20th year racing it.
Wow. How's it standing up as a bike?
It's more or less just a hotted up road bike, you know. They never race them in GPs or anything like some of the bikes here. So it's just sort of what parts we can find and put together and keep it going, basically.
I think that's what I love about this class of bike as well. I mean, there's nothing pretentious. I mean, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, dead right, yeah.
Good on you, Peter. Stay safe out there today, mate, and have a bit of fun as well, eh?
Thank you. Cheers.
Now, this is a unique bike. I mean, simply from a rarity perspective.
Yes, it's a Norton frame with a Westlake motor in it. The motor's ex-Speedway.
Okay, tell us about the engine. I mean, it looks very simplistic.
They don't come much simpler. It's a pushrod motor, single cylinder, 500cc, but it's got 4 valves and it runs on methanol, so it's got a bit of punch for an old single.
What year model is it, Eric?
1971.
The simplicity back from 1971 to come up with such a good product on such a good-looking bike. How does it ride?
Oh, it's marvellous to ride. The basic bike is actually pre-1963, but the motor is 1971, and that basically dates the bike for classification for racing.
Right, okay. Thanks for catching up with us, Eric. I love the bike. And just before I let you go, how do you think you'll run out here today?
I'll tell you at the end of the day.
Yeah, that's
but
it.
we'll have fun, whatever.
Good on you. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Now, we've got this guy here, his name's Glenn. How are you, Glenn?
Good, thanks, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. Now, apparently you're the oldest rider here today. What a load of garbage.
Well, I don't know about that. No, it looks a lot older than me out there.
Yeah, that's it. He's just a young bloke stuck in an old bloke's body, isn't that right?
That's right.
Tell us about the bike that you're riding here today.
The 77 Silver Jubilee Bonneville. I get a lot of comments on it, the fact that it should be in a glass case because there was only 1,000 made, but
Yeah.
it's got a big heart, you know.
No good stuck in a glass case, Glenn. You've got to keep it out on the track and keep it warm, don't you, mate?
That's right, yes.
Yeah. Which is probably not a bad idea today. The conditions that we're in here in Invercargill at the moment are pretty blustery. We must be looking at, I don't know, maybe 1 or 2 degrees. What do you reckon, Glenn?
Well, I expect this sort of weather down here.
Yeah. Glenn, give us a rundown on the engine.
Well, Fletch, it's pretty standard motor inside. What the things I've done to it is what you see, like the exhaust system and the inlets, and other than that, it's pretty well as it is.
Glenn, thank you so much for an interview, mate, and I wish you well out there today. Well done.
Thank you.
Good on you, mate. This is Oreti Park Speedway, just 500 metres from Oreti Beach. Everything here at the Burt is within close proximity. There's even sidecar racing. This is Speedway at its very best, attracting professional riders from around New Zealand and Australia. You deserve a Fletch tour. See the amazing Ford, GM and Chrysler Nationals at Carlisle events, along with museums and private collections in beautiful Pennsylvania, USA. Then it's the Motown city of Detroit and its region, taking in more die-hard stuff with incredible history. Rounding off with the Woodward Dream Cruise, the largest moving car cruise in the world.
It just makes it so much easier on yourself when Fletch picks you up, drives you around.
Laughs, lots of laughs.
More than what I expected.
I'm definitely coming back again.
Go to classicrestos.com.au and click on the Fletch Tours icon for more information. Hope you're enjoying today's show. Back with more after this. Welcome back to a Best of Burt Munro challenge, and you'll only see this on Classic Restos. It's day 3, Sunday, and around a half-hour drive from Invercargill takes us to the gorgeous regional township of Wyndham, where usually it's a sleepy little town. But today, the Burt is here, and there's a few changes for the locals to get to their store. Main streets are closed off for some awesome street racing, again covering all genres of bikes. Cool is this? Wyndham Street Racing. How are you, Kevin?
Awesome, thanks, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. 1962 Norton Atlas. What a bike.
Yes, she's awesome. She's a lovely machine. It came in from the States. It had discs on it and what have you, so to get it to New Zealand Classic Racing Register rules, we've had to put drums back on it, take the Japanese carbs off, put aim wheels back onto it. and just titivating. Yeah, lots of titivating.
It's just such a good-looking thing. When we see the classic bikes going past in front of us here, they're doing some healthy speeds too. I mean, these things don't muck around, do they?
No, it's very... You're doing a lot of braking at the top of the straight to get around that corner.
Tell us, Kevin, between you and me and a few tens of thousands of other people, has it ever scared you?
No, I try to stay within my comfort barriers, leaving a little bit of extra there just in case. Yeah. We're not racing for sheep stations here.
Good on you, Kevin. Look, you're a top bloke. I'm sorry to interrupt your coffee, mate.
Right, awesome. Thank you very much for your time, Fletch, and welcome to New Zealand. Hope you have a good time here.
Thank you very much, Kevin, and I wish you well when you go back out on that gorgeous Norton.
Thanks, mate. Awesome. Cheers.
Moving through the Burt, as we do here at Wyndham. How are you, Chris?
Good, Fletch.
That's the way, mate. 1941 Indian, what a classic.
Yeah, well, it is. It's an old girl. Started life as a Army Indian.
1941, quite archaic. How does it feel to ride on the street?
Well, it's generally out of control, actually, but it's predictable. Okay, so it's okay. You know,
so it's controlled unpredictability.
It is. It's predictable. So it wobbles and shakes, but it does it everywhere.
Okay. Not a dumb question. When you put the power on, how does it feel? Does it go quite well?
Goes good. It goes good. You know, the motor's reasonably warm and it's nice and free revving, and so it does. It goes good for what it is.
Chris, in 1941, what was its original capacity?
500cc.
You got to admit, it's pretty cool to see a 1941 bike here. Drum brakes, pretty archaic in design, a very simple frame. Oh, what more do we say? No instrumentation up on the handlebars. You don't need that. Just get on and go.
Well, it's the essence of the meeting, isn't it? Doesn't get much better.
That's it, mate, yeah. Well, I hope you've enjoyed just a sample of this week's episode of the Best of Burt Munro Challenge. Now, the Burt Munro Challenge DVD sets are available at classicrestos.com.au along with a whole load of others and Classic Restos merchandise. There's contact information on joining us on a Fletch tour to the United States of America in 2015 and contacting the major sponsors as well. As I say at the end of every show, no matter where you're watching from, until next week, please ride and drive safe. I'm Fletch, and I thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to like Classic Restos on Facebook. Facebook.com/Classic Restos TV. And episodes can be seen at Shannons.com.au. Classic Restos is proudly brought to you by Shannons Insurance and Penrite Oil.